Canine German Shepherd recognizes his owner. After 3 years, what happened next was unbelievable. They told him the dog was gone, that after the explosion overseas, there was no way any canine could have survived. And for 3 years, Army veteran Tyler Brooks carried that loss like a wound that never closed. Rex wasn't just a military dog. He was his partner, his brother, the only living thing that stood between him and death more times than he could count. But then, one quiet afternoon at a small town shelter, thousands of miles away, Tyler heard a bark he hadn't heard in years. A bark that stopped his heart cold. And when their eyes met through the cage door, time froze. Because somehow, against all logic, against everything he was told, Rex remembered. And what happened after that moment would change both of their lives forever. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and turn on notifications. It helps us bring you more inspiring stories like this one. It had been 3 years since Tyler Brooks last saw his partner. He remembered the mission like a scar, vivid, permanent, and painful to touch. It was supposed to be a routine patrol in the outskirts of Kandahar. He and Rex, his assigned canine, had worked together for almost 2 years by then. Tyler had trusted Rex more than any human in his unit. The German Shepherd had saved his life more than once, sniffing out hidden explosives, warning him with a quick bark or a frozen stance when danger lurked ahead. But that day, everything changed. There was an IED. They were ambushed. The last thing Tyler remembered before blacking out was Rex launching forward, trying to push him out of harm's way. When Tyler woke up in a field hospital, bloodied and bruised, he asked for Rex, again and again. All they told him was that Rex didn't make it. For a long time, Tyler couldn't breathe right. Not from his injuries, but from the silence. No dog had ever meant so much to him. He carried that guilt with him, through surgeries, through therapy, through every lonely night back in Georgia, where even the sound of the wind felt like a memory. He tried to move on. Worked odd jobs, started a small mechanic business out of his garage. But a part of him always felt missing. Until one Tuesday afternoon, Tyler had gone to the shelter on a whim. Not to adopt, just to donate some old blankets and food he'd collected through a local veterans charity. The place was quiet, tucked behind an elementary school on the edge of town. As he was handing over the bags to the receptionist, a sound reached his ears from the kennels in the back. A bark, sharp, powerful, familiar. He froze. His chest tightened. No, it couldn't be. But then it came again. Louder this time, urgent. He didn't even wait for permission. He rushed past the front desk, down the hallway, ignoring the protest of the staff behind him. His boots echoed off the tile floor until he rounded the corner and stopped dead in his tracks. There. Third cage from the end. A German Shepherd. Bigger now. Scars on his hind leg. Eyes wide, ears forward, tail stiff. Not wagging, but waiting. Tyler stepped closer. His heart thundered so loud he couldn't hear anything else. The dog tilted his head slightly, took a step forward, then another. And then it happened. A low, familiar whine. The kind Rex used to make only when Tyler came home from base after long missions. A sound that had haunted Tyler's dreams more times than he cared to admit. Rex? Tyler's voice cracked. The shepherd barked once, then let out a whimper and pressed his entire body against the bars, tail now thumping hard against the metal. Tyler dropped to his knees. Buddy, no way. Is it really you? Rex pawed at the cage, desperate to close the space between them. A staff member finally caught up, slightly out of breath. Sir, please don't get too close. That one's new. He was found near a train yard 2 towns over. No microchip, barely let anyone touch him. But Tyler wasn't listening, and neither was Rex. Without thinking, Tyler extended his hand through the bars, and instead of growling or retreating, the dog nuzzled into his palm and let out a sound that could only be described as a cry. "Get the keys," Tyler said, looking up with tears in his eyes. "That's my dog. His name is Rex, and I think he just came home." The staff stared at them for a moment, unsure whether to believe it. But something about the way the dog leaned into the soldier, the way Tyler whispered his name like a prayer, something told them this was no coincidence. This was a reunion the world never expected, and whatever had happened during those 3 years apart was a story waiting to be uncovered. Rex didn't let go. Even after the shelter staff opened the cage and Tyler knelt to meet him, Rex buried his head against Tyler's chest and refused to move. He whimpered, then licked the soldier's hands with the kind of desperation that didn't come from days without food. It came from years without home. Tyler's throat tightened as he ran his fingers over the thick fur around Rex's neck, then down his side. His hand paused when he felt something jagged beneath the coat, a scar. Then another. And when Rex shifted, Tyler saw it, a patch of missing fur near the ribs, skin puckered and raw. It wasn't fresh, but it was deep, and it wasn't the only one. "Who did this to you?" Tyler whispered, anger boiling beneath his skin. The shelter director, a kind woman in her 50s named Maggie, approached slowly. "We don't know exactly what happened to him. He was brought in last month by a railroad worker who found him limping near the tracks, covered in mud and burns. Took us 3 days to get close enough to clean him up." Tyler looked at her, stunned. "You didn't try to identify him?" "We scanned for a chip. There was nothing. He was skittish, even aggressive at times. We figured he was abandoned or a stray. Sometimes people dump old working dogs when they can't handle them anymore." Tyler clenched his jaw. "He's not old," he said. "He's not a stray. He's X, military canine, registered under Unit 42 Bravo. He saved lives. And they told me he died." Maggie's face softened. "I believe you. Anyone can see this dog would follow you into fire." Tyler stroked Rex's head gently. "He already did." Back at his truck, Rex climbed into the passenger seat like no time had passed. He turned in a circle, settled down, then rested his head on Tyler's leg as the engine rumbled to life. Tyler's fingers trembled on the wheel. He kept glancing over at him, as if afraid he'd disappear again. The ride home was silent, but something heavy lingered in the air, like the pieces of 2 broken hearts were trying to fit back together. When they pulled into the driveway, Rex perked up. His ears flicked forward, nose twitching. Tyler parked the truck and walked around to open the door, but Rex was already out, sprinting to the porch. He sniffed every inch of it, then turned in a slow circle as if remembering something. Tyler watched from the steps. "You remember this place, don't you?" he asked. Rex looked up at him with those soulful brown eyes and gave a soft bark. Tyler opened the door. Inside, everything was exactly how it had been. The bed in the corner where Rex used to sleep, the dented water bowl by the kitchen. Tyler had never gotten rid of any of it. He couldn't. Some part of him had refused to say goodbye. Now, he didn't have to. That night, Rex didn't leave his side. He followed Tyler from room to room, as if afraid he'd vanish again. When Tyler finally sat on the couch, Rex jumped up beside him and rested his head on his lap. Tyler brushed his fur slowly, his other hand holding a worn photo, one of them from Afghanistan. Rex wore his tactical vest, Tyler in uniform, both of them looking straight into the camera with the confidence of 2 souls who trusted only each other. "I thought I lost you," Tyler said quietly. "But you found your way back. How the hell did you do that?" Rex didn't answer, but his presence said everything. There were still questions, still scars both visible and buried deep. Tyler could see it in the way Rex flinched at sudden noises, how he tensed when headlights passed the window. Whatever had happened during those missing years had left its mark. But he was here now, alive. Home. Tyler leaned his head back, eyes closing. He didn't know what tomorrow would bring, but for the first time in 3 years, he didn't feel alone. And he knew, whatever story Rex carried inside him, he was ready to uncover it. Together. The next morning, Tyler woke up to a warm weight pressed against his leg. Rex, curled at the foot of the bed, head resting on his paws, chest rising in slow, peaceful breaths. For a second, Tyler thought he was dreaming. He reached out and ran his fingers through the dog's fur just to be sure. It was real. Still, as the sunlight filtered through the blinds and lit the quiet bedroom, the questions began to circle in Tyler's mind. Where had Rex been all this time? How had he survived? Who hurt him? And most of all, why did no one tell him? By mid-morning, Tyler found himself in the garage, a steaming mug of black coffee in one hand, Rex padding beside him. The dog stuck close, ears alert, nose constantly twitching, reacting to sounds Tyler couldn't even hear. It reminded him of the old days, of desert patrols and tense silences that always meant danger. But this wasn't a battlefield. This was home. Tyler walked to a dusty storage shelf, pulled down a metal case, and set it on the workbench. He hadn't opened it in over a year. Inside were Rex's old service records, training logs, mission reports, everything they'd done together during deployment. He pulled out the file labeled Incident 47, Kandahar, IED Blast. It detailed the explosion that supposedly killed Rex. The timeline was vague. There was no recovered body, just an assumption. K9 presumed lost in action due to proximity to blast origin, no retrieval possible. Tyler frowned. No retrieval, he muttered aloud. But what if Rex had survived that blast? Injured, dazed, but alive? Could he have run, been picked up by locals, smuggled out? His hand gripped the edge of the bench as the possibility sank in. He looked down at Rex, who now sat beside the toolbox, staring up at him with wide, alert eyes. "Did you try to come home, boy?" Tyler asked softly. "Did they just forget about you?" Rex blinked slowly. Then, as if understanding, he stood and walked toward the garage door. Tyler followed. Outside, the late morning sun cast golden streaks across the yard. Rex moved slowly now, sniffing the ground in long, deliberate motions. Then, he stopped in the middle of the grass, turned toward the road, and sat, completely still. "Something out there?" Tyler asked, stepping beside him. But Rex didn't bark, didn't flinch. He stared at a passing white van, and his body stiffened. In an instant, Tyler saw it. The change in posture, the rigid tail, the narrowed eyes. He knew that stance. Rex was assessing danger, just like he had during patrols. The van drove by slowly, then kept going. Rex didn't move until it disappeared around the curve of the street. Tyler knelt beside him. "What did you see?" No answer, of course. But Tyler could feel it. Rex remembered something. Not just the explosion. Not just Tyler. But who had hurt him, what had happened in the time they were apart. And maybe, who was still watching. That night, Tyler called in a favor. An old contact from the Army, Captain Delaney, who had transferred to civilian security work. Tyler explained everything. The blast, the shelter. Rex recognizing him, the scars, the behavior. "I know it sounds crazy," Tyler said, "but I think someone took him. I think someone wanted him gone." Delaney was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "You're not crazy. And if someone did take a trained K9, we need to know why." They agreed to meet the next day. Tyler hung up the phone and turned to see Rex already watching him from the doorway, head tilted. "You knew they weren't done, didn't you?" Tyler said with a half smile. "You've been trying to warn me." Rex wagged his tail once. Not playful, not excited, just confirmation. Tyler leaned down and looked his old partner in the eyes. "We'll find out what happened, I promise." And in that quiet night, surrounded by shadows and questions, one thing became clear. Rex had never stopped being a soldier. He had just been waiting for his commander to come back. The next morning, Tyler drove into the city with Rex in the back seat. The shepherd sat alert, ears forward, watching every vehicle that passed, like he was scanning for enemies. Tyler couldn't shake the feeling that Rex knew more than he could ever explain, more than any human could guess. He met Captain Delaney at a quiet diner off Highway 22. They took a corner booth near the window where Rex could sit at Tyler's feet. Delaney, a thick-chested man with salt and pepper hair and calloused hands, gave Rex a long look before speaking. "He doesn't look like a ghost." "He wasn't," Tyler replied. "He was just thrown away." Delaney opened a manila folder. "I pulled your unit's debriefs and some classified incident reports. Most of it's still redacted, but there's something odd. After the IED explosion in Kandahar, the report said Rex was KIA, killed in action. No body recovered. No remains." I read that. "Here's what you didn't read." Delaney slid over a printed form. 2 weeks after your medevac, a private contractor submitted a requisition order for a German Shepherd matching Rex's description. Same weight, same scars, same behavioral triggers. They gave him a new name, Maximus. Tyler's jaw clenched. "They repurposed him?" "Worse," Delaney said, lowering his voice. "They sold him." "To who?" "Private security. Mercenary outfit called Talonbridge. Blacklisted now, but 3 years ago they were doing contract work in unregulated zones, border work, political protection, corporate extractions." Tyler leaned back, stunned. "They took my dog, lied about it, rebranded him like gear, like a weapon." Delaney nodded. "It gets worse. I pulled a vet file, scanned in by accident during a customs search. He was listed as injured during confrontation with handler. Not you, someone else." Tyler's chest felt like it was cracking. "They beat him," he muttered, "when he didn't follow their orders." Delaney nodded solemnly. "Looks like he escaped after a failed transfer. Wounded, drugged. But he ran, somehow made it back here. That's when the shelter found him." Tyler's blood boiled. He looked under the table. Rex was resting quietly, but his eyes flicked up to meet Tyler's, as if he'd heard every word. "I want names," Tyler said, voice low, "and I want to know who's still looking for him." Delaney hesitated. "That's the problem. I think someone is." Tyler looked up. "That van you saw the other night?" Delaney continued. "Ran the plates through some contacts. No registration. Just a dummy number tied to an old logistics firm that went bankrupt. It's a ghost vehicle. They're still watching. Could be they're trying to cover tracks. Or worse, trying to recover assets." "He's not an asset," Tyler growled. "He's mine, and he's done being used." Delaney nodded. "I can help, but you need to be ready. If they come back for him, they won't knock on the front door." That night, Tyler reinforced every lock on his house. He placed motion sensor lights around the property, checked the cameras he had barely used in years, and made sure Rex had access to every room. The dog followed him closely, sensing the tension. When Tyler finally sat down on the couch, he pulled out Rex's old tactical vest from the storage bin. He held it in his hands for a long moment, then knelt beside his companion. "Remember this?" he asked, holding it out. Rex leaned in and sniffed the fabric. Then, slowly he pressed his head into Tyler's chest, just like he had done the day they reunited. "I promise." Tyler whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "No one touches you again, not without going through me." He buckled the vest gently around Rex, just like old times. It still fit. Outside, the wind picked up. A branch snapped against the window. Rex didn't flinch, but he didn't sleep either. He sat by the door all night, eyes fixed, ears up, waiting. By dawn, Tyler stood beside him, sipping black coffee from a chipped mug. "They think we're just going to let them take you," he muttered. "They have no idea who they're messing with." Rex wagged his tail once, slow, steady, a signal. The soldier and his dog were back on the battlefield. Only this time, the war had come to their doorstep. The sun dipped below the horizon like a warning. Tyler stood on the porch with Rex sitting at his side, eyes fixed on the tree line that bordered the property. A storm of dread churned in Tyler's gut. Every instinct from his years of service told him something was coming, something they couldn't avoid. By now, he'd reviewed the documents Delaney gave him a dozen times. The mercenary group, Talonbridge, was as real as it was dangerous. And if they had invested in trained canines like Rex, they wouldn't take losing him lightly. The asset they lost had value, not just in dollars, but in what he knew. Rex had memory, and someone out there saw that as a threat. Inside, Tyler set down new bags of supplies, water bottles, first aid kits, a flare gun. He wasn't planning to run, but he was planning for more. Rex paced the house, ears twitching at every creak. He moved like a soldier, always between Tyler and the windows, always watching the door. When night fell, they turned off the lights. Tyler didn't want to be seen. He placed Rex's vest on again, black canvas, faded from dust and sun, with the Velcro tag that still read, Rex, K9 Unit 42B. "You ready, boy?" he whispered, scratching gently behind Rex's ears. Rex gave one short, low bark. That's when the power cut out. Everything plunged into darkness. Tyler didn't flinch. He reached for his flashlight and gun in one motion. Rex growled, a deep, steady rumble from the chest, not loud but full of warning. Someone was on the property. Tyler moved to the kitchen window and peeked through the edge of the curtain. 3 figures, dark clothes, moving low, no flashlights, trained. Tyler cursed under his breath and ducked back. "They're here!" He glanced at Rex. The dog was already at the back door, nose pressed to the floor, tracking their movement. Seconds later, glass shattered, one of the living room windows. Tyler raised his weapon. "Stay low," he said. But Rex did the opposite. He bolted. "Rex, no!" Too late. Rex sprinted into the living room and lunged straight into the first intruder coming through the window. A yell. A body hit the floor. Tyler charged in, saw 2 more shapes rush toward the hallway, and fired one warning shot into the ceiling. "Get out of my house!" he shouted. Another shout. One of the men turned back and raised a weapon. Tyler ducked behind the couch as a silenced round split the air. Rex was still fighting, snarling, tearing, pushing back with brutal precision. The man under him screamed, then went silent. The second intruder tried to drag Rex off, but Tyler tackled him from behind, slamming his shoulder into the man's back. They hit the floor hard. Fist, elbow, gun. Tyler wrestled the weapon free and turned it on the man's face. "Move and you die." The man raised his hands. Outside, sirens wailed, or growing louder. Delaney. Tyler had tripped the silent panic alert embedded in the back hallway before the lights went out. Help was coming. The third man tried to run. Rex darted after him, moving like a shadow. He tackled the last intruder on the front lawn, holding him down until police arrived, teeth bared, growl never wavering. Minutes later, the yard was filled with lights, red and blue flashing through the trees. Officers flooded the property. Delaney stepped out of an unmarked SUV, bulletproof vest over his shirt, weapons still drawn. "You all right?" he called. Tyler nodded, panting. Blood trickled from his eyebrow. His knuckles were raw. "I'm fine," he said. "But they weren't here to scare us. They were here to take him." He looked over at Rex, standing in the headlights, still wearing his vest, chest heaving, eyes wild but focused. Delaney walked over and knelt beside the shepherd. "This dog's been through hell," he said. "And he still chose to protect you. He never stopped," Tyler said, voice thick. That night, after the house was cleared, after the bodies were taken and the arrested men were hauled off, Tyler sat on the porch again, arms resting on his knees. Rex sat beside him. For a while, neither of them moved. Then Tyler said, "They thought you were just a weapon." He looked down at Rex. "But you're the soul of every man you ever saved, and I swear you will never be property again." Rex leaned gently against him, the weight solid and steady. In the silence that followed, Tyler knew one thing. This battle was over, but the war to protect Rex and dogs like him had just begun. The days that followed the break-in were a blur of police reports, press inquiries, and sleepless nights. Tyler's home became a temporary stronghold. Officers patrolled the perimeter. Security systems were upgraded. Reporters called nonstop, asking how a war hero and his resurrected dog managed to stop a trained team of mercenaries. But Tyler didn't care about headlines. He only cared about Rex. The German Shepherd hadn't left his side. He followed Tyler from room to room, slept near the bed, and only ate when Tyler sat with him. Something in Rex had shifted. He was alert, intense, always scanning like the fight wasn't over. Delaney visited again that week. He carried a new folder and a strange look in his eyes. "I've been digging," he said, laying the papers on Tyler's kitchen table. "You were right. They weren't here for revenge. They were here to silence him." Tyler frowned. "What does that mean?" Delaney flipped open the folder. "One of the men we arrested used to work for Talonbridge, but get this, he was also stationed near Kandahar 3 years ago. During the same month you and Rex were hit." Tyler stood straighter. "That's not a coincidence." "No, it's a cover-up," Delaney said. "We believe Talonbridge wasn't just buying up K9 units. They were using them to run off-record ops, no government oversight, covert entries, silent takedowns. And Rex, he was one of the best. They reprogrammed him after the blast." Tyler's stomach turned. "You mean they brainwashed him?" "They tried," Delaney said. "But he broke protocol, bit a handler. Ran off during a transfer. That's when he was officially lost. They couldn't risk anyone finding out. And now that he's home, they're scared," Tyler finished. Delaney nodded. "He remembers too much. Faces, places, procedures." Tyler looked down at Rex, lying quietly under the table. His ears twitched at every sound. His eyes were half closed, but Tyler knew. He was listening to every word. "I can't believe they used him like that," Tyler muttered. "He was a soldier, not a tool." Delaney leaned in. "There's more. The team you stopped, they weren't acting alone. There's chatter that someone higher up is watching. Someone who still wants Rex erased." Tyler's jaw tightened. "Let them try." That night, Tyler made a decision. He pulled out a dusty duffel bag from his closet, one he hadn't opened in years. Inside were pieces of a past he'd tried to bury. His old fatigues, a pair of boots, maps marked in pencil, and a small dog whistle engraved with 42B, Rex. He called Rex over. The shepherd came immediately, tail still, eyes focused. Tyler held out the whistle. "We never finished the mission," he said. "And now I think..." Maybe we still can. He spent the next 3 days retracing everything. He looked through Rex's old mission logs, cross-referenced them with the Talonbridge files Delaney had dug up. Piece by piece, he began to understand the final operation before the explosion. There was a name, Kellen Reeve, a private contractor who had disappeared shortly after the incident. His file was thin. Too thin. And Rex reacted every time Tyler said the name out loud. On the 4th morning, Tyler packed the truck, not to run, but to investigate. Rex jumped in without hesitation, tail wagging once in approval. They drove west, toward an abandoned training compound in New Mexico, once used for joint exercises between private contractors and military units. Rumor had it that Talonbridge had staged unauthorized drills there, right before the Kandahar ambush. When they arrived, the place was deserted. Chain-link fences rusted and bent, watchtowers empty, windows shattered. But as soon as Tyler stepped out, Rex began sniffing the air. Then the ground. Then he froze. Tyler followed his gaze. A door to the main building hung open, just slightly. "Rex," Tyler whispered. "Lead." Rex moved like a ghost, low, quiet, every muscle trained for this. Tyler followed with his weapon drawn. Inside, the air was thick with dust and silence. Old papers littered the floor. Maps hung torn on the walls. Rex turned into a side room and stopped. In the corner, a locked filing cabinet. Tyler forced it open with a crowbar. Inside, hard drives, disks, folders marked redacted operations. And at the top, a photograph. A younger Rex, in full gear, standing beside a man Tyler didn't recognize. He flipped the photo over. Asset K9 42B reassigned, handler K. Reeve. Tyler stared at the name, then at Rex. They used you, reprogrammed you, sent you on black missions, and when you broke free, they wanted to erase the evidence. Rex didn't bark. He didn't imprimify. But Tyler swore. He saw something in the dog's eyes. Recognition, rage, and resolve. Tyler placed a hand on his back. "It ends now," he said. "No more secrets, no more hiding." Outside, a dust storm began to form on the horizon. But Tyler and Rex stood ready, together again, not just as partners, but as survivors ready to expose everything. Tyler didn't sleep that night. The hard drives, documents, and photographs they found at the compound sat neatly stacked on the passenger seat as they drove through the desert before dawn. Rex sat upright beside him, ears alert, gaze fixed out the windshield like a sentinel. Neither of them needed to speak. Both understood the weight of what they were carrying. They weren't just hauling evidence. They were carrying the final chapter of a betrayal no one wanted exposed. Tyler had called Delaney hours earlier and arranged to meet him at a secure FBI liaison office in El Paso. The files they uncovered had enough to sink what was left of Talonbridge and implicate several high-level contractors who had been hiding behind forged signatures and silent operations for years. But it wasn't just about justice anymore. It was about honoring Rex. It was about finally giving meaning to what that dog had endured. By 10 a.m., they arrived at the building. The parking lot was quiet, and security waited at the door. Tyler walked in with Rex at his side, head held high, tail steady. The K9 vest was tight around his chest, the name patch still attached. Rex, K9 Unit 42B. Inside, Delaney stood waiting with 2 agents. When he saw the files, his eyes widened. "You did it," he said. Tyler dropped the folder on the table. "They used him. They lied to me. They used all of us." Delaney nodded. "We'll take it from here. This is enough to launch a full investigation." Tyler looked down at Rex. "It better be." As the agents began to scan the documents and images, Tyler stepped out into the hallway where Rex sat down beside a water cooler. He lowered himself to the floor next to his dog and exhaled slowly. "You remember him," Tyler said softly, pulling the photo of Kellen Reeve from his pocket. "He was the one who tried to replace me, the one who hurt you." Rex didn't react, but Tyler could feel it. Beneath the quiet calm, something was still unfinished. Just then, an agent poked his head into the hallway. "There's something else," he said. "We ran facial recognition on Reeve. He's alive. New name, new ID. He's been working as a consultant in Arizona. We're trying to get a location." Tyler stood. "I wanted to be there when you find him." The agent looked hesitant. "That's not protocol. I don't care." Delaney emerged from the room and placed a firm hand on the agent's shoulder. "He's earned it." 2 days later, they found him. Kellen Reeve was living under the name Jason Rourke, just outside Tucson, a desert ranch, off-grid, the type of place people go to disappear. The FBI moved in swiftly. Tyler rode in one of the unmarked vehicles. Rex sat beside him, head slightly lowered, but body coiled with energy. As the agents surrounded the property, Tyler stepped out and approached the front door. He had no weapon, just a file folder. And Rex. Reeve answered the door with a smirk. He was older now, beard trimmed, eyes sharp. "Well," he said, "if it isn't the soldier and his mutt." Rex growled low, steady. Tyler didn't flinch. "You ran Black Ops using a stolen dog. You beat him, reprogrammed him, then left him for dead." Reeve's expression darkened. "You've got no proof." "I have your name, your picture, your fake contracts, and the dog you tried to erase." Rex stepped forward now, ears back, teeth bared. Reeve's hand twitched, like he was considering something. That's when the agent swarmed. He was cuffed within seconds. Rex never looked away from him until the cuffs clicked shut. Later, as they drove away from the ranch, Tyler looked at Rex through the rearview mirror. "You remembered everything," he said. Rex blinked slowly, then let out a single soft whine. Not sadness, release. They drove back to Georgia 3 days later. No reporters, no press conferences, just 2 soldiers returning home after finishing the mission they never meant to start. Months passed. The investigation exposed a web of illegal operations. Several arrests followed. Rex's name was cleared, his service record restored, but more importantly, he was finally retired. Officially. Tyler built a new home out on a quiet stretch of land surrounded by trees and silence. Rex had acres to roam, a warm bed by the fireplace, and a routine he'd never known before. One night, Tyler sat on the porch watching the stars. Rex lay beside him, head resting on his boot. "You saved me," Tyler said, "twice. Once in war, and once when I didn't know I needed saving." Rex looked up, eyes gentle. "You're not just a good boy," Tyler said, voice breaking. "You're the best partner I've ever had." Rex nudged his hand once, then settled back into sleep. In that moment, Tyler understood something he never had in all his years of service. Some warriors wear uniforms, and some wear fur.